Hey guys, Desolator Magic here from Wu-Tang Financial, and I'm here to discuss your possible investment in a wonderful box of Double Masters. Okay, it's the EV video. So we had everything but two prices, so I'm like, yeah, I'll just fill in the gaps and make it anyway. So Imperial Recruit, it wasn't listed by Card Kingdom on pre-order yet, and Riku wasn't listed. Literally all the rest were, like the other 161 cards. Very strange. So, I don't know, Riku was like 30, so I'm like, I don't know, it'll probably be 20, and then Imperial was like 55, so I thought it'll probably be 40. It's a pretty good guess. And then since I had to find which two were missing, I thought, oh, there's probably some missing from the rares too. Nope. So I went and matched them up by name completely unnecessarily. So, yeah, they're not in any kind of order, but let's just say the average rare value isn't quite as impressive as I thought. Now remember, there's 40 mythics, 121 rares, and then 171 remaining uncommons and commons. So there's actually like more rares than uncommons. So I believe in the rare slot then, with the whole like, let's add it up to the lowest common single card denominator sort of, and then divide it out, and then double prevalence for rares, it turns out to be about a 45% chance that your, like each individual foil will be a rarer mythic, which is pretty good. Now, I don't know for sure that they're keeping that ratio. They may not, but they should, because that's the way they've always done it. But then again, they've never put two foils and two rares in one before and then completely and utterly unbalance it, you know, with 121 rares. So let's go down to the big reveal here. We've got the average mythic value is $29.78, so just short of $30 for the average mythic. That's crazy. Now, the rare average, just kind of in your head, guess what it is. Because, I mean, we've seen a ton of, like, $30 rares, a bunch of 15s. We've seen some 20s. And a lot of the ones in the middle are, like, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. But we saw a lot of kind of crappy ones later on. So, in my head, I had a certain number, and it is way lower than that. So, believe it or not, the average rare is $5.22. I mean, I would have said 6 or 7 all day. So that is really surprising. I'm kind of surprised that the 20 plus cards didn't drive that up more, but there is just an absolute pile of like 35-cent and 49-cent cards. So the rare slot average, when you count for double prevalence of rares versus mythics, ends up being 871, which sounds not very impressive because it isn't. If this is a regular master set, it would actually be flaming garbage. But you get 2 rares in every pack. So $17.41 total contribution per pack. That's high. So this is somewhere between like being, I guess, a kind of bad choice to being a good choice. So I guess I'm glad they put 2 in there. I mean, if they didn't think about it, it would be like, you know, what, 10 to 12 bucks a pack retail? You know, somewhere in that neighborhood, probably 10 even, because it would be, you know, 24 and about 240 a box, maybe a little lower. So yeah, 871 wouldn't have cut it. It would have just barely broken even and nobody would be interested and it would crash it. So yeah, putting 2 in, very smart. So the foil slot rare contribution value is $1.99, believe it or not. And I think it was like, I have these numbers off the sheet. The mythic contribution was $191 on its face, and then the rare contribution was $202, but you're twice as likely to get a rare. So then it was like a 2-to-1 average of those, and that came out to $199. The actual math was a little bit more specific. Okay, you like Excel enthusiasts are gonna laugh. This is what it was. Oh gosh, it doesn't even fit on the screen. It still doesn't even... There we go. That was the equation right there. Okay, anyway. So remember, you get 2 foils in every pack, so obviously that's just X2 right there. And I am obviously completely ignoring the foil value contribution of uncommons, because the vast majority of them are 25 cents, and even that's kind of a stretch. They're really not worth that because you can't even buy list them at all in most cases. If you were to sell them on like eBay or TCG Player, your loss just on, you know, postage and the envelope will be 50%, so it's not realistic no matter how you move them. But I know there are some very, very valuable foil uncommons, but its total contribution is probably on the couple cents range. But just keep in mind, okay, if you were to include specifically value foil uncommons, and I guess some commons, it might up the price 10, 20, 30 cents, or something in that neighborhood. So if anything, this number is low that we get to finally. So the pack total, not very hard to do in your head here, so I might as well reveal it. Whoops, here we go. Is $21.39, which is looking pretty darn good. So you multiply that by 24, and you get $513.25. That is the official box EV right there. But Des, what about the box topper? You have to consider the box topper. I'm going to leave it out of the math for now and then swoop back around to it later, and you'll see why. So I went a little further and I looked at the average market price, which is about $360 right now. Somewhere in that neighborhood on like eBay and Amazon. It kind of varies, hour by hour, day by day. But then I thought, okay, well, if that's the value and that's what you're paying, like full-blown online retail, and I really don't feel like it would be a lot higher in a store. 153.25. That's your profit margin at retail, like online retail price. So percentage-wise, profit margin percent, that is 42.57% profit margin. Now, if you're gonna day one buy list them and the buy list value is about 60 to 70%, there goes that 42. You could probably buy list the whole box and still make a tiny profit and keep the cards that weren't worth buy listing. But not a lot of people like open it to like make a sheer profit, And I think a week after release, you're going to lose 10 to 20% just across the board no matter what. And this set might crash even harder because it's a lot of cards that are like, oh, it's $6 because a couple people play it and it's only been printed once 10 years ago. So as soon as they like flood the market with it, it might go from like, it went from like $10 cards to like a $6, $7 card in a ton of cases. It might hit like $1, maybe $2. It's going to be bad. So if that happens to a lot of them and we start just gutting the entire mid-range on the rare, then the mythics go down a little bit. I don't know. It's going to be pretty ugly. So you combine that with, okay, the loss and the shipping cost and the margin difference and all that. Even on in-store credit with a buy list, I wouldn't exactly open these and expect to just flip them immediately to a buy list buyer within like a week or two and actually make money. Now, if you sell them on your own, it's looking pretty good because the average loss, eBay fees and all that is like, 12 to 17%. After shipping and postage or whatever and materials, it's usually like upwards of 25% loss. Obviously, it's very static. It doesn't scale very well for mythics versus rares, so it depends how low you sell them. But like I said, there's a buttload of $5 rares in the set, so those get hit hard even in full play sets. But yeah, I think anyway for single sellers, they're well into the profitability category, but because of just how the math falls in my experience in selling, almost $500,000 worth of singles the last couple of years, it's actually more lucrative to just take them sealed and sell them sealed. You'll make a little bit more. It's a little bit faster, more reliable, and a little bit better end amount. But then you won't have any commons or uncommons or semi-bulk rares just sitting there waiting to be sold years later for more money. Now, that in my experience is still only, another 5% on a good day, maybe 10% if a set shoots up. This is a reprint set, so it's a little different than standard, but like I said on Oath of the Gatewatch and just nothing happened to that. I think eventually like 2 or 3 of the cards became a big Commander Modern thing, and I pulled those out of the commons and uncommons and bulk rares and made just like another couple $100, but that's out of several $1,000s that I spent on that set. So that's standard. These are reprints, are known to be hot cards. If you were to sit on them and sell them later and you include that in the profit margin because your business is going to be long and established and you care about future values and stuff, yeah, selling singles would look almost as good, but it's still almost. If you were to just straight up get them in, slap a label on them and ship them, you're going to make quite a lot of money per box, especially at $360 a box when I believe the distributor cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 flat. I've heard different numbers because, there's 6 different distributors in the U.S. They just are different numbers. And some of them are getting shady with changing prices and letting people kind of bid a little bit, which I don't agree with. But either way, if you just want to like open one because you got a bunch of money, just got your tax returned or whatever, I don't know. It's not a terrible idea if you're just like, I'm going to open it, but I want it to be a good value. Like a lot of people said, I want to open it for Masters 25, but my gosh, is it not worth it? I'd rather just maybe pick up a box value worth of the singles I wanted and just call it a day, instead of trying to open stuff, trade it, and whatever else. So I could see it going either way, but yeah, you really do have options. It's hard to go wrong with this no matter what you do. You buy it, don't buy it, just sit back and pretend it doesn't exist and then wait a month and then buy the singles. You'll totally win that way. So by not participating in this in any way, basically, reprints are always good. And even if you like literally do no financial transactions with this whatsoever, it's still going to benefit you because this set's, exploding, doing really well online price-wise, and the EV is so high that Wizards will make a pile of money on this and then not have to be as greedy as the next crap they do over the next year. Theoretically, they probably still will, but if Hasbro's breathing down their neck saying, hey, where's the money, why are you losing money, where's the income, and they had to do this to get it, then this will get them off their backs, in theory, if that's what's going on. So less dumb secret layers, less withholding fetch lands till they get really high, then probably trickle them back to us and all that. And by the way, speaking of fetch lands, they aren't in this one, and they are not on the list for the Zendikar Rising secret slot in only the whatever the hell they call it booster. I think Mark and maybe another staff member both actually, like, word for word said, no, it's the fetch lands that are being reprinted that we said are going to come in 2020 are not in those boosters, and they're not on the list. So they're in something else. I think we're, like, running out of time and products here. Not much hasn't been announced that we don't know about. I think I phrased that correctly. So they're almost definitely going to be in Commander Legends. That's almost like the only product left on the calendar that it could be in. And that one sounds shaky. So if they prop up the value with just those and print it in a good enough volume, I mean, it's almost like they can't win, basically. If they don't print it in a good enough volume, the fetch lands will still be too expensive. They'll drop, but they'll be too expensive. Or if they print them like crazy, they're going to crash the volume to the point where the fetch lands can no longer prop up the value of whatever they're in, and it'll be deemed a disaster. And a lot of cards in this set were for commanders, so, like, how much is left? You know what I mean? And I think they said it's going to be like a Horizons thing where some of the cards will be new. I don't know. I barely remember all the details about that, but it looks like that'll be the set that has fetch lands. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So yeah, 5/13/24. That is the box EV. According to my calculations, which the method I've been using, I've been kind of questioning if it matches actual printing reality for, 6 or 7 years. And yeah, that is a very accurate method that I'm using. Wizards finally, after like 6 years of me doing this, confirmed that the way I've been interpreting how the printing works and the rarity distribution is how it works. And they confirmed it by telling me that the very next set and the one after it, they're going to change the Mythic ratio. But for this one, they didn't say anything about that, and I feel like they would have known it. So this is the last one where it's going to be a true 2-to-1 on the Mythics to Rares, which is a shame because, well, I mean, kind of speaks for itself. Could have used a 12.5% prevalence increase, which is what we're going to see in the next set. So the last thing to consider here at the end is the box topper. Now, I threw this in at the end because this is really like the box EV number that's important to most people, because if you don't buy a full box, you don't get the box topper unless your store has some really funny, weird policy. So if you're going to just say, oh, what's the box return, what's the EV, what's the profitability, I'm going to buy 1, 2, 3 packs, something like that. This is the number you'd want to know. If you do buy an entire box, or you buy, a case of them, which is usually 4 or 6, you can't really just say, okay, what's the average of the box topper, because there is no number of boxes that you can reasonably buy and open that will make it even out flat. I mean, remember, it's like saying, oh, how do you add the average value of the Masterpiece cards from BFZ? I ordered like $10,000 worth of BFZ and opened it all in 2 days, and still I got, I think, 43 of them, and probability would have suggested I was supposed to get 42, so I got 1 bonus one. Hooray, variance. But to say, well, I'm going to get exactly 2 of this one, 2 of this one, 2 of this one, no. I mean, to get consistency in the Masterpieces, I would have probably had to spend $100,000 on boxes. So I know the rarity of this is a little bit better than Masterpieces, obviously, but I think Masterpieces were 1 every 2 boxes on average, something like that. And then these box toppers are 2 per box, because you get 2 in every box topper. So let me just show you the numbers. It'll make a lot more sense. Here we go. So this is the list of them. I mean, obviously 350 is, what is that, Force of Will or something like that. There's a couple hot ones. Mana Crypt is probably up there. But this is the bottom. So that's not good. So while the average is 82.63 and you get 2 of them each, so 165, the average box, including the box topper, would add an additional $165 to the box EV, which is insane. In fact, let's see what that does. Let me just add it real quick. There we go. So that brings it up to $678.50. Like, holy crap, that's insane. And honestly, I'd recheck the market price now that I'm editing this and filming the second part. It's more like $380 a box. So still, 78% profit margin. That's almost a full 2-to-1. I mean, that's insane. So yeah, $678.50 a box. That is absolutely crazy. But going back to the list here, well, what if you open 2 $30 ones? Now, that's pretty bad luck looking at the list. I mean, geez, But where's the dead center on it? Somewhere around here, probably about $60. That seems to be the center of the list. So the median would be 60, but the mean, which is the average, would be 82. Well, that's a problem. When the mean and the median don't agree, you get this wonderful thing called standard deviation, I guess. Or no, that's not the way you'd phrase it. Just deviation or variance. Standard deviation is the exact amount of the average deviation of the average unit or whatever. So if you're equally likely to pull all of these across the board, which I actually don't think is true, because some of them are mythic, some of them are uncommon, some of them are rare. They might run these all off of one sheet, but also they might not. And the rares might be twice as prevalent as the mythic, so that would throw it way, way, way off. And because I don't know how they're doing it, I can't just say, okay, tack this number on, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's how they're doing it. But still, if you could equally likely pull these numbers as these numbers, well then it almost should be the median. But if you were to open 100,000 boxes, the correct number to use would be the average. So you can see why we have a little discrepancy in, probability and reality and stuff. So I'm not just saying, oh, I would throw this number out completely because you might get a $20 and a $35, one in your pack or whatever, and 2 shots at it is a lot better than one. You could just as easily get the 350 and the 200, just saying. But I clicked on the wrong one. But you're more likely to end somewhere in the middle, and there's so many bombs, and you're opening so little box toppers that the variance is going to kill you. You cannot rely on this number. It is pure gambling at that point, basically. It's just, are you going to get a high number, or are you going to get a low number? You don't know. So you should not also include this entire number, in my opinion, because it's not realistic for the vast majority of people in the amount that they're open, or that they will open. And like I said before, a lot of people are just going to buy a couple packs, not a whole box, so they won't even get the box topper at all. Usually with the loose packs, the store owner keeps the top one and sells it as a single. I don't really have a problem with that as long as it's not an unreasonable cost for the boosters. I mean, sell them 15 or under, hey. In fact, right now, even full-blown internet retail, you take $3.80 a box and divide it by the 24 that are in there, it's $15.83. So, if you're going to keep the box topper, 15's almost a little high, to be perfectly honest. But I will say, you want to talk about variance, look at the rare list and the mythic list and the fact that you might not pull, X amount of mythics in a box. I mean, in 24 boosters with 2 shots each, that's not great odds of pulling a consistent number of mythics. So it's already a high variance product anyway if you're not buying a ton of it, which I wouldn't recommend buying a ton of it, by the way. But overall, okay, if you want to take this as your number, that's kind of personal preference. If you're buying a pallet of them, then you definitely do want to use this number because it's more accurate, I guess. Well, actually, no, even a pallet. No, you'd really get a lot of variance in the box toppers even with a pallet. Okay, if you're dropping $250,000 on this product, then use this number because this is what you will pull consistently. So hopefully that makes sense. I mean, this is really the actual mathematical true EV. It's just, will people see wildly varying results upward and downward from that? Yes. So you can't count on that number reliably, but that's not the point of an EV. So I could see people saying, no, I'm going to use that number in my head. That makes way more sense. I think somewhere in between is more accurate, just for realism and for making decisions about this product. Yeah, I guess good news all around. The only bad news is I don't think I'm going to get a single box of this. I might be able to borrow a box from a store to open for them. Free labor for them, free live stream for me, or a video or whatever the hell I do with it. But yeah, the distributors are being kind of tight-lipped and dicks about this. I went to a couple places and said, hey, can you get me a couple $1,000 worth of this? It looks pretty hot. And they were just like, oh, let me know. I haven't heard back. And yeah, they're just giving people the runaround, and they're sending all these, extremely valuable hot potatoes to all the bigger guys. I'm not surprised. Especially since I know which distributor this guy uses. They are famous for unfair crap like this. They will screw over the small stores and send all this to the bigger ones just because the bigger ones like to throw their weight around. And my old distributor doesn't tend to do that, FYI. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks for tuning into this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you found it interesting and helpful, which I can't imagine you didn't. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.